emerging markets.
2015年2月，原保监会发布了长二代的全套17项主干技术标准，长二代基本建成，保险业进入新规则实施的过渡期。2016年，长二代正式在中国实施。
In February 2015, the former CARC released a set of CRO's 17 technical standards, and the industry entered transitional period. CROS was officially implemented in the year 2016.
随着中国保险市场的快速发展，长二代在实施过程中也需进行适应性改进和完善。2017年9月，原保监会发布长二代2期工程建设方案，包括完善监管规则、健全执行机制、加强监管合作等3大任务和26项具体工作，争取用3年左右时间对长二代制度进行升级改造。
With the rapid development of China insurance market, CROS also needs to improving and updating accordingly. In September 2017, former CRC issued CROS Phase 2 construction plan with 3 mentions, including role revision, implementation reinforcement, and strengthening regulatory cooperation, and 26 specific tasks. The plan is to complete Phase 2 construction work within 3 years.
第二方面，我想介绍的是，长二代是充分体现了新兴市场特征的监管制度体系。长二代制度设计既广泛借鉴了国际先进经验做法，又充分考虑了中国作为新兴市场保险市场的实际和特点，强调监管要求必须符合本国国情，设计了符合中国保险市场实际的风险分层模型，建立了符合新兴市场特征的偿付能力监管体系。
The second value I want to share with you is that CROS is a system reflects the emerging market features. CROS learned from international best practices and has been fully taken into account of China's insurance market characteristics as an emerging market, emphasizing that regulatory requirements must be suitable for local market conditions. CROS establishes a risk stratification model in line with China insurance market and a solvency regime suitable to emerging market conditions.
例如，针对新兴市场高速增长但发展程度相对不够成熟的特征，长二代采取了可操作性强、实施成本低、基于市场实际数据的行业标准模型来计量风险。
For example, to adapt to emerging market features, CROS developed a practical industry standard model based on actual market data with low implementation costs.
采用会计准则调整法对资产负债估值，并采用风险综合评级和偿付能力风险管理评估的方法，全面监测和评估公司定量风险和定性风险，将风险管理能力评估与资本要求挂钩，督促保险公司重视风险管理，提高风险管理能力。
CROS adopts a gap-adjusted method to evaluate the assets and liabilities, and comprehensively monitor and evaluate risks from both quantitative and qualitative perspective with supervisory tools such as IR and SAMRA. Through linking risk management capacity assessment score to the capital requirements, CROS encourages insurers to attach greater importance to improve their risk management ability.
第三点，长二代采用3支柱监管框架，在充分考虑中国新兴市场特征的基础上，长二代采用了国际通行的3支柱监管框架。3支柱有机联系，共同构成全面科学、计量有效、防范风险的监管体系。
With comprehensive consideration of emerging market conditions, CROS adopted internationally accepted 3-pillar framework, and the 3 pillars constitute a comprehensive regulatory system of risk identification, scientific measurement, and effective risk warning.
其中 第一支柱是定量监管要求，主要防范保险风险、市场风险、信用风险等能够用资本量化的可量化风险，通过科学识别和量化上述风险，要求保险公司具备与其风险相适应的资本。
The first pillar is quantitative capital requirements. C-ROSS links capital requirements with the quantifiable risks, including insurance risk, market risk, and credit risk. Through scientific identification and quantification of the above-mentioned risks, insurance companies are required to hold corresponding capital to prevent them.
第二支柱是定性监管要求，即在第一支柱基础上，防范操作风险、战略风险、生意风险和流动性风险等难以量化的风险。
The second pillar is quantitative supervisory requirements for unquantifiable risks, including operational risks, strategic risks, reputational risks, and liquidity risks.
第二支柱有两种重要的监管方式，一种是风险综合评级，即监管机构综合第一支柱对量化风险的定量评价和第二支柱对难以量化的风险的定性评价，对保险公司总体风险水平进行全面评价。
The two main supervisory tools in this pillar include integrated risk rating, which we call it IRR, and solvency-aligned risk management requirements and assessment, which we call SAMRA. With IRR, CBRC comprehensively evaluates an insurer's overall solvency risk level based on both quantitative results in Pillar 1 and qualitative risks assessment in Pillar 2.
二是偿付能力风险管理要求与评估，即监管部门对保险公司的偿付能力风险管理提出明确要求，并对公司的风险管理能力进行监管评估，将评估得分与资本要求挂钩。
In SAMRA, CBRC set up specific requirements on risk management for insurers and links the risk management assessment score with the capital requirements.
第三支柱是市场约束机制，即在第一支柱和第二支柱基础上，通过公开信息披露、提高透明度等手段，发挥市场的监督约束作用，防范依靠常规监管工具难以防范的风险。
The third pillar is market discipline mechanism on the basis of Pillar 1 and Pillar 2. Through public information disclosure and improving transparency, the market can play the role of supervision and constraint to prevent risks that are difficult to regulate merely by regulators.
长二代实施近4年来，在推进保险监管现代化建设、提升风险管理能力、促进行业转型升级等方面取得了显著成效。这充分证明，新兴市场应该也完全可以建设符合自身特点、科学有效的偿付能力体系。
Since fully implemented in 2016, C-ROSS has made remarkable achievements in insurance regulatory system modernization, encouraging the industry to improve their risk management capacity and promoting industry transformation and upgrading. This is fully approved that emerging markets like China should and have the capacity to build up our own solvency system.
第二方面是偿付能力监管等效评估的基本考量，为增强监管互信、消除监管空白、节省监管资源、降低保险机构跨境经营合规成本，长二代在设计之初即引入了偿付能力监管等效评估的理念。我想借此机会向各位朋友介绍一下对等效评估的几点思考。
The second part of my speech is considerations of CBRC on the C-ROSS equivalence assessment. To enhance mutual trust and eliminate regulatory gaps, the concept of equivalence solvency assessment was introduced at the very beginning of the C-ROSS design stage I will take this opportunity to briefly talk about some considerations and thoughts on the equivalence assessment.
一是等效原则，偿付能力监管等效评估应当遵循和而不同的原则，是一种基于等效的效果，不应拘泥于标准和技术的统一。
Firstly, the principle of equivalence. Solvency equivalence assessment should follow the principle of harmony in difference. It is a result-based equivalence, not to require the same regulatory system or standard.
二是等效内容，长二代等效评估包括对监管制度的等效认可和对保险机构或保险组织的等效评估。前者主要评估监管制度能否达到防范风险和保护保单持有人利益的效果，后者主要评估保险机构或组织的偿付能力状况和风险管理能力能否达到长二代监管的要求。
Secondly, the content of equivalence. The equivalence assessment of C-rules includes equivalence recognition of regulatory system and equivalence assessment of insurance institutions or organizations. Equivalence recognition mainly evaluates whether the regulatory system can prevent risks and protect the policyholders. Equivalence assessment of an insurance institution or organization evaluates the solvency status and risk management capacity, whether it can meet the quantitative and qualitative regulatory requirements of the C-rules.
三是等效形式，等效可以灵活采取多种形式。我们愿意与各国保险监管部门、保险机构或组织共同探索科学有效的等效形式。
Thirdly, the form of equivalence. Equivalence can take different forms. It is flexible. We are willing to discuss and explore new forms of equivalence with regulators and industry.
第三部分，我向各位介绍一下中国保险市场的基本情况。
Last but not least, I want to introduce to you the China insurance industry market.
目前，中国已经是全球第二大保险市场。2018年，保险业实现原保险保费收入3.8万亿人民币，较2011年增长166%，近8年年均复合增长率15%。
China is now the world's second largest insurance market. In the year 2018, the insurance industry realized premium income of 3.8 trillion RMB yuan, an increase of 166% compared to that of 2011, with an annualized compound growth rate of 15% over the past 8 years.
截至2018年末，行业总资产18.33万亿元，净资产1.99万亿元。保险业平均综合偿付能力充足率242%，平均核心偿付能力充足率231%。其中，财产保险公司、人身险公司、再保险公司的平均综合偿付能力充足率分别为274%、235%、282%。
As of the end of 2018, the total assets and net asset of the industry were 218.33 trillion RMB yuan and 1.99 trillion RMB yuan, respectively. The average comprehensive solvency ratio of the insurance industry is 242%, and the average core solvency ratio of the industry is 231. Among them, the average comprehensive solvency ratio of property insurer, life insurer, and reinsurers is 274%, 235%, and 282%, respectively.
从上述数据可以看出，中国保险业具有较大的市场潜力，行业平稳健康发展，整体偿付能力充足稳定，风险总体可控。
The above-mentioned data shows that China insurance industry is developing sound and steady and with huge potential, and the solvency of the insurance industry is sufficient and stable with risks and control.
2016年，原保监会与费尔签署了监管谅解备忘录，目前双方合作顺畅，市场反应良好。我们相信，今后我们的合作空间将更加广阔。在大家的共同努力下，亚非保险再保险市场也将迎来更加美好的未来。
In 2016, the former CRC and FAIR signed a memorandum of understanding. Currently, the cooperation between the two parties is smooth and the market has responded well. We believe that in the future, there will be broader space for our cooperation and collaboration. With our joint efforts, the Asian and African insurance and reinsurance market will have a brighter future.
最后，感谢费尔盛情邀请我们参加此次大会，也感谢摩洛哥保险监管局哈桑局长盛情邀请我们赴拉巴特开展监管交流。
Finally,
我们也诚挚地欢迎摩洛哥监管同仁和费尔及下属公保体前往北京，也希望未来更多亚非保险与再保险机构来到北京。
Finally, I would like to thank FAIR for inviting us to this conference and thank Mr. Hassan Bublik, President of the ACAP, for inviting us to Rabat on regulatory cooperation. On behalf of CBRC, I welcome our regulatory colleagues and FAIR friends to come to Beijing and hope that in the future, more Asian and African insurance or reinsurance companies will come to China.
谢谢大家。
Thank you.
Unfortunately, Dr. Su Zunhu will have to leave to catch a flight, so I would ask Mr. Otman El Alami to present him with a present symbolic gift for his participation.
Thank you.
And we will keep with our regulatory part of our session, and I would ask Mr. Otman El Alami to come for his short address to the audience. Mr. El Alami, as most of you know, he is the General Secretary of ACAPS, the regulatory body in Morocco. The floor is yours.
Bonjour à tous. Je remercie les organisateurs de nous donner cette opportunité pour vous parler un petit peu du régulateur marocain et de son expérience quant à l'innovation, puisque c'est le thème de notre rencontre aujourd'hui. Donc, lorsque l'innovation rencontre la législation. Alors, est-ce que... Bien, alors rapidement, l'autorité de contrôle marocaine qui a vu le jour en 2016 est en fait une autorité indépendante qui est autonome sur le plan budgétaire Et évidemment, elle n'est pas soumise au contrôle du gouvernement, en tout cas pas un contrôle direct, même si son action s'inscrit dans le cadre de la stratégie, évidemment, nationale au niveau du secteur financier. Donc c'est une autorité qui a pour mission de superviser les secteurs d'assurance et de la prévoyance sociale. C'est une particularité du Maroc, c'est que le contrôle se fait également sur les caisses de retraite, qu'elles soient publiques ou privées. Et évidemment, à ce titre-là, au niveau assurantiel précisément, le contrôle se fait sur les pratiques du marché pour s'assurer de la protection des assurés et de la stabilité du marché dans son ensemble. Cette autorité est dirigée dispose de deux organes que sont le président et le conseil, et elle est accompagnée de deux instances consultatives que sont la commission de régulation et la commission de discipline. Enfin, je ne vais pas rentrer dans les détails, mais pour ce qui est par exemple de la commission de régulation, c'est une commission qui donne un avis consultatif aussi bien au président ou au conseil pour tout texte concernant le secteur des assurances. Alors évidemment, cette autorité qui est née en 2016 a repris les missions de la direction des assurances et de la prévoyance sociale, qui était un département du ministère des Finances. Mais évidemment, pour respecter les standards internationaux, on a mis en place donc cette autorité qui est aujourd'hui totalement indépendante. Quelques chiffres rapidement pour situer le Maroc. Aujourd'hui, le Maroc est le deuxième marché africain avec une part de marché de 6%, très très loin derrière l'Afrique du Sud. Mais j'aimerais quand même préciser qu'au niveau de l'Afrique du Sud, on comptabilise également les pensions privées dans le chiffre d'affaires. Si on devait le faire pour le Maroc, notre taux serait un peu plus élevé, mais évidemment, il resterait assez loin de celui de l'Afrique du Sud. Donc c'est le deuxième marché africain, alors que l'économie marocaine n'est que la cinquième économie du continent africain, derrière le Nigeria ou l'Égypte. Quelques indicateurs également en ce qui concerne le secteur des assurances marocain. Il comprend 24 entreprises d'assurance et de réassurance, plus de 2000 intermédiaires d'assurance, donc agents et courtiers, que nous trouvons à travers le Maroc. C'est un réseau qui est relativement dense. Nous avons également près de 600 bureaux directs, donc ce sont des agences qui appartiennent à des entreprises d'assurance et à travers lesquelles elles peuvent vendre directement l'assurance. La banque assurance est également très développée au Maroc, puisque les banques peuvent distribuer des produits d'assurance, mais essentiellement au niveau des assurances de personnes. Donc les assurances vie, l'assistance et l'assurance crédit, si je ne me trompe pas. Donc les banques aujourd'hui ne sont pas autorisées à commercialiser des produits d'assurance dommages. Et ça nous donne là un impact assez important avec plus de 6000 agences bancaires à travers le Maroc. Le taux de pénétration est de 3,74%, ce qui nous place, je crois, à la première place de la région MENA, et on est, je crois, troisième au niveau africain. Les primes, donc, elles sont de 4 milliards 400 millions de dollars, parce que là, il y a également les acceptations, avec des actifs affectés et sous gestion de 17 milliards de dollars, un résultat net de 400 millions de dollars pour l'année 2018, des fonds propres aux alentours de 4 milliards également, et un taux de marge de solvabilité de 394%, qui est assez élevé, mais je dois préciser que nous sommes encore au niveau de la marge de solvabilité 1. On n'est pas encore passé à la solvabilité basée sur les risques, et je vais en parler. Alors, pour rester dans le vif du sujet, donc l'innovation, donc on essaye d'être innovant au niveau du champ réglementaire, je dirais, mais également au sein même de notre autorité, nous essayons d'innover et d'apporter un certain nombre de projets innovants. Au niveau réglementaire, je vais essayer d'être assez rapide. Nous travaillons justement sur la solvabilité basée sur les risques. Donc c'est un petit peu le Solvency II, mais à la marocaine, adapté à la réalité marocaine, sachant que nous sommes un pays jeune, je dirais, qui a besoin encore d'infrastructures. Et l'idée, c'est de renforcer la solvabilité des entreprises, leur permettre de faire face à l'ensemble des risques auxquels elles sont soumises, que ce soit les risques de marché, de contrepartie, opérationnels ou autres, mais en même temps de leur permettre de garder ce rôle d'investisseur institutionnel. Donc c'est un projet sur lequel nous travaillons. Je ne vais pas rentrer dans les détails, évidemment il comprend 3 piliers. Pour ce qui est du pilier 1 qui concerne les aspects quantitatifs, nous sommes bien avancés. On a mené des études d'impact pour voir un petit peu ce que ça va coûter aux entreprises de passer de la solvabilité 1 à la solvabilité 2. Pour le pilier 2 qui concerne la gouvernance et les fonctions clés, le projet est quasiment terminé et on va rapidement nous concerter avec le secteur des assurances pour un déploiement le plus rapidement possible. Nous travaillons également sur la couverture contre les événements catastrophiques. C'est un projet qui a mis pas mal de temps à se mettre en place, mais on est dans la dernière ligne droite puisqu'il est prévu que le système puisse entrer en vigueur dès janvier 2020. Alors ce projet-là, rapidement, il comprend 2 volets. Il y a un volet assurantiel. Donc ce sera une surprime sur l'ensemble des contrats d'assurance dommage qui va être appliqué et qui va être commercialisé par les entreprises d'assurance avec 2 niveaux, je dirais, une agrégation au niveau d'une entreprise de la place, puis de la SCR, notre hôte, je dirais. Et évidemment, on fera ensuite appel à la réassurance internationale avec une garantie de l'État. Mais il y a également un volet allocataire pour les personnes qui ne disposent pas d'une assurance. Et là, ce sera ce qu'on appelle le FSEC, un fonds de solidarité des risques catastrophiques, qui va indemniser ces personnes-là, évidemment, pas intégralement, mais avec un certain nombre de limitations. Nous travaillons également sur un projet de couverture tout risque chantier RC décennal. Là aussi, c'est une obligation d'assurance à laquelle sont soumis les promoteurs immobiliers, toutes les personnes qui travaillent au niveau des chantiers. L'assurance Takafoul, là, on peut parler d'innovation, mais au niveau marocain, je sais qu'on a pris un peu de retard à ce niveau-là. Mais comme j'ai l'habitude de dire, on a les défauts de nos qualités. Comme c'est le marché marocain a été extrêmement dynamique ces dernières années, les assureurs et peut-être les pouvoirs publics également n'ont pas vraiment estimé qu'il était utile d'aller vers l'assurance Takafoul parce que le marché était florissant. Mais on s'est rendu compte qu'il y avait quand même un besoin important, qu'il y avait des populations pour lesquelles ces garanties Takafoul, allait leur permettre d'intégrer le secteur des assurances. On travaille également sur la dématérialisation de l'assurance, de l'attestation, je dirais, d'assurance automobile, avec la possibilité de souscription en ligne. Donc là aussi, c'est un projet que nous pensons être innovant parce que ça permet un contrôle plus simple de l'obligation d'assurance et ça facilite un petit peu la vie aux assurés. L'assurance inclusive, aujourd'hui, c'est un sujet extrêmement important au Maroc. Nous avons une stratégie nationale de l'inclusion financière qui est pilotée par le ministère des Finances et la Banque du Maroc, à laquelle stratégie nous adhérons complètement. Et à ce titre-là, nous avons mené une étude sur l'assurance inclusive. Cette étude, je veux dire, les premiers résultats sont là. Et c'est quelque chose qui est extrêmement important parce que autant il faut respecter les standards internationaux, être au top, je dirais, de la réglementation internationale, autant il ne faut pas oublier qu'il y a un certain nombre de populations qui restent en dehors du système et auxquelles il faut proposer des garanties adaptées, sachant que ces populations n'ont pas vocation à rester dans la précarité ad vitam aeternam, mais que c'est des gens, c'est des personnes qui, tôt ou tard, vont aller vers l'assurance classique. La montée en charge du dispositif de la protection des assurés, c'est également un sujet pour nous, à telle enseigne que nous avons une direction de la protection des assurés. C'est ce qu'on appelle market conduct. Ce sont des notions qui sont très importantes. Aujourd'hui, nous homologuons les contrats d'assurance. C'est quelque chose qu'on va arrêter de faire. On va permettre aux entreprises d'avoir un dispositif de conformité sur place, mais on va continuer à regarder les contrats. Et en fait, au-delà de la mise en circulation d'un contrat, le plus important, c'est son application. Il faut le suivre sur la durée pour s'assurer que le contrat est appliqué dans les meilleures conditions et évidemment sans altérer les intérêts des assurés. Alors, ça, c'est, disons, les chantiers à destination du secteur, des entreprises d'assurance. Là, j'aimerais rapidement évoquer 3 chantiers que nous avons mis en place en interne, qui nous semblent être des chantiers innovants. On a mis en place une plateforme qu'on appelle WebInter. Elle a été mise en place à destination des intermédiaires d'assurance, que sont les agents et courtiers, et ça leur permet de simplifier un petit peu leur démarche, parce qu'ils sont soumis à une obligation de nous transmettre un certain nombre de documents annuellement, que ce soit des documents qui les concernent eux-mêmes, tels que leur fiche signalétique, leur fiche anthropométrique, casier judiciaire, ça dépend. Et donc toutes ces données-là, ils pourront nous les transmettre via Internet, et également tous les états annuels que nous leur demandons de nous transmettre. Donc c'est des fonctionnalités qui sont intéressantes aussi bien pour les intermédiaires que pour la CAPS elle-même, sachant que c'est un système qui comprend la géolocalisation, ce qui nous permet en temps réel de savoir dans chaque zone quelles sont les primes émises pour une zone donnée, et ça nous permet de suivre ces intermédiaires. Et essentiellement, lorsqu'on veut agréer un nouvel intermédiaire, on doit s'assurer qu'il ne va pas s'installer dans une zone qui est déjà saturée. Donc ça nous permet vraiment de suivre au plus près l'implantation des intermédiaires au Maroc. Nous avons également mis en place une plateforme d'échange avec les entreprises d'assurance et de réassurance il y a à peine 6 mois. Et c'est une plateforme qui est, je dirais, en rodage maintenant. Mais l'idée, c'est que tout le dossier financier qui est transmis annuellement puisse l'être à travers cette plateforme qui permet d'automatiser et de fluidifier les échanges avec les entreprises d'assurance, d'apporter les corrections qu'il faut. Et c'est une plateforme qui est un petit peu la base de ce qu'on va demander dans le cadre de la solvabilité basée sur les risques, parce que le pilier 3 et l'information à destination du régulateur, c'est autrement plus important et plus complexe. Donc il va falloir développer et faire évoluer cette plateforme d'échange. Et enfin, un chantier qui est interne à la CAPS, mais qui est intéressant pour nous, c'est la plateforme GED, donc gestion électronique des documents. Donc c'est une plateforme qui nous permet de tendre, ce n'est pas encore le cas, mais de tendre vers le zéro papier. Aujourd'hui, tous les documents que nous recevons sont scannés et archivés selon une méthode bien précise, et ce qui nous permet de travailler essentiellement à travers cette plateforme et d'éviter de manipuler un tas de documents et pourquoi pas de les perdre. Donc c'est quelque chose qui est effectivement nouveau pour nous, et je pense que ça rentre bien dans le cadre de l'innovation que l'on applique aussi bien au secteur qu'à nous-mêmes. Je vous remercie.
Our last panelist today is Mr. Salvatore Orlando. He is responsible for the P&C business of Partner E in Middle East, Africa, and Russia. And he's going to give us the insurance company side of innovation. Salvatore, the floor is yours.
Good. So first of all, I like to thank the organizing committee to invite me here to Marrakech as a speaker. It's a great pleasure and honor to be, and I thank as well the few friends that I see here in the room. Thank you very much to be here and to listen to this presentation. So let's go on here. How does it work? So when we talk about innovation, I think that we have to admit that as an industry, we have not been very, very innovative over the last couple of years. We failed in many aspects. We have not been very dynamic. And I think the driver of all this is that overall, we have been able to provide nice profits for our shareholders, and therefore it was not necessary to be able to make sure that we have to produce new products for our clients. However, the world is changing, the world is different, technology is changing the world, and I think it is important to highlight that also the risks are changing. And I believe it's important to highlight a bit more the risk that we have right now in our world, which are, of course, different in different places, in different geographies. But when you look now to this slide, which comes from the World Economic Forum, you have 4 different areas. One is related to digital, that's the critical system failure. You have the other area, which has to do with population, with growth of population. That's an area where, of course, you know, some products from the insurance industry will be needed. You have then, of course, the great debate in respect of climate change, and that's an area where we are going to be asked to find some solution and some products. And then, of course, we talk about the imbalance, the chronic fiscal imbalances, and there, of course, also on the credit side, there will be some need to offer solution to the system and to the client as well. Now, when you talk about the risk, you need also to talk about our industry and what is the mission of our industry and what kind of challenges we have. I think, you know, I don't have to go now into the different topics here. You see old climate change, deregulation, shareholder value, regulation as such is going to be the main drivers going forward. But we should never forget that our mission at the end of the day is to offer a product which has also a return on the capital that we invest. So profit is going to be also in the future a very important item for our industry and for the insurance and reinsurance industry as a whole. Said that, as I said, you know, things will change, and of course we will have new trends in our industry, and everything is starting, of course, from technology. It's going to disrupt our existing business, and it will have an impact, a significant impact on our industry. Most of the changes will be driven on the distribution side, but also on the product side from technology. However, we will have different paths in different markets because we should not mix mature markets with emerging markets. These are 2 different worlds, and we have to take this into consideration. Internet as such, we have right now the discussion about G5, will change definitely the way that we are doing business and the way that we are using data going forward. So when you talk about now, you know, the most known, I did not take now many examples. I was just thinking I'm coming up with some examples on the peer-to-peer economy, on the driverless, because motor insurance will be, of course, affected going forward. And the third point is going to be, of course, cyber insurance, which is a major item right now in the insurance and reinsurance world. If you talk about peer-to-peer, I'm sure that you have heard about, Airbnb. They have a huge success over the last couple of years, and it's changing, of course, the request in respect of products. I think that people are becoming more aware of risk as such, but as well how long the risk is really in their hand in this respect. So, the fact that we have this peer-to-peer economy and the impact that we have in different lines will also influence the duration that we are going to have in respect of insurance. So, in other words, we probably have to start to think that an insurance policy is not anymore a 1 year duration, but eventually a weekend or 2-3 days or 5 days, depending how long the risk is really in the hand of our clients. So more flexibility will be asked by the insurance industry, and of course, a different approach when you sell then afterwards these products. There are many unanswered questions. I don't want to come here and tell you now that everything is fixed and everybody has a solution from that point of view, but we are, as an industry, are starting to prepare ourselves with products to, of course, overcome the demand that we have in this field. The second point, which is, of course, a very important one, is motor and car insurance. Everybody is talking about the fact that over the next 10, 15, 20 years, we are going to have more and more driverless vehicles, which means automatically, of course, that the cars are driven by computers. And when computers are on board, you know as well that the frequency will change. Is it going to be less? Is it going to be more? Higher frequency? I don't know right now. The likelihood that it's going to be less, so less frequency of losses is high, and therefore also the pricing will have an effect, will be influenced. Automatically, of course, if you think now that most of the insurance companies around the world have about 50–60% of their portfolio is related to motor insurance, this will have a huge effect to their portfolio. Now, insurance will not disappear, that's not for sure, but it will shift. Many questions are going to be on the table, and of course the insurance industry has to find solution. So it means automatically that from property damage, the casualty aspect, liability, will become much more important. And automatically, of course, we need to make sure that our clients are understanding the pricing methodology that is behind and afterwards of these new products. Now, when you talk about Internet of Things, I think it's extremely important to understand now what's happening. I think in the States, particularly in the United States, there is a clear, let's say, anticipation of use of technology and linking that with different products that are important for the life of a family. So when you talk about home, for example, a lot of people in the States are immediately connected with some devices, with insurance companies, and are linked then afterwards and can buy also some services. And that's something which is extremely important, and is as a message in this speech here, this short speech. I think that going forward, our insurance industry has to realize that we are going to have a two-pillar system. One will be still risk and will remain, of course, the core of our business. However, it will be also important to think what kind of services we are going to be able to offer to our clients. The mistake that we should not do is to think that services are going to be free of charge. We need to make sure that we charge for the services that we are offering then afterwards to our clients. That's going to be extremely important, and it's going to implement also different skills. And that's also something which we will go through over the next couple of years. We will need people who think differently. We need to change the culture of our companies. And we need different skills who are able then afterwards to price and to make sure that the products are going to be as tailor-made as possible for clients. What we should also understand is that, the time of 20, 30 pages on the policies is over. People want to know in 3, 4, let's say, sentences, what kind of coverages they have and what is going to be then afterwards the promise that is going to be paid out if something happens. So efficiency, effectiveness is going to be the driver of products going forward. Internet of Things is something which is going to be really extremely important and will change really our industry, because this is now linked with the 5G technology. And here, of course, data is becoming, of course, the new oil of the future. Data are going to be extremely important. Telematics, again, very important. I think I don't go into the details here. You have seen probably, and you have heard about this type of products that are going to be in our households going forward. Same, of course, when you talk about health insurance, this is going to be a lot of changes coming then afterwards from people who have the datas. Of course, Fitbit, but if you think who is more informed about your health is not the health insurance, but is your iPhone, because those people know exactly how fit you are because they control, of course, also the movements that you have. So going forward, I think there are many areas of interest. I'd like to make to take this slide as let's say benchmark for my end of the speech. If you look now the value chain of insurance, it has been clear that in the past you have brokers and a bank. Then you have, of course, insurers. You had a reinsurance broker and you have reinsurers. Today's value bank is including, on the distribution line, you have many other distributors who came in. I'm talking about direct, I'm talking about aggregators, the bank brokers, agents. You have still an asset manager and insurers who are on the middle of the value chain. You have the reinsurance broker and you have the reinsurer, but additionally, and that's extremely important, the capital market came in. And the capital market today is playing a very important role, particularly when it comes to a business like CAT and capital-intensive business as such. Tomorrow, the future is going to be probably, you're going to have distributors which are different than the one that you see right now. You're going to have data owners and data analysts, experts who are analytically analyzing the behavior of this data and the clients. And of course, you have then after the asset manager and the capital provider who are going to decide if the business model that you are going to present is interesting enough to invest in afterwards the money. And when you talk then afterwards about the future, who can be then afterwards the possible including or the people that are interested to be in the different segments? There is no doubt that, for example, now, car insurers are driving a change. The margins are extremely tight and they think how they can improve, of course, their revenues and their profits. And I would be not surprised if, these companies are going to be one of the main distributor of personal line product like the motor insurance going forward. You're talking about Google, various analytics that are going to be the main driver of analytically analyzing then afterwards the data And those data are coming, of course, from insurance company, from a company like Apple, all companies who have huge amount of data and can sell this data, of course, then afterwards to interested providers. And then, of course, you have a capital market, and we should not forget that nowadays the margins of banks are becoming more and more under pressure. They are looking for new income streams, and I would not be surprised if sooner or later those people are going to be then afterwards interested as well to offer insurance facilities and products to the market as such. So I think, you know, overall, we know that, that the big data as such and new technology is allowing, of course, new processes. This will be done with much higher velocity. And of course, there will be also a need to buy data. That's also something extremely important. Today, our industry in this respect, in my view, is doing a bad job because insurance companies have huge amount of data, but we don't use this data properly and professionally to provide and afterwards efficient products. There will be blockchain. I just mentioned this. You know, I would say a guy which believed that blockchain will change our industry. In the meantime, I think that it's too long that blockchain is out and nothing happened. So in my view, there is probably another system that will provide then afterwards some innovation in this respect. But there is no doubt that we will have something similar as blockchain, who is going to be then afterwards the driver of improving the efficiency in the back office. Another interesting area is, for example, now on the drone and imaginary, let's say, market. I can tell you that in the meantime, for example, we have started a cooperation as partnery with a company who is specialized in claims settlement, but what we do is that they have developed glasses. They go to the site, we are connected with them, they make pictures, we see online, live, the claims as such, the loss, and we can define then afterwards the amount that we probably have to pay on specific losses. These are areas of innovation. Overall, I have to say that there is a long way to go. We are far to say that we are innovative in industry. I'm sure that we are going to have a discussion round now, and I can give you some examples in this respect. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Salvatore, and very interesting presentation. I would like to start by asking you a question. Your first slide, and actually you repeated it at the end, a statement that I fully agree. We haven't been very good at innovating in the insurance and reinsurance industry. And yet when I look at your presentation, you're talking about things that will revolutionize distribution, products, processes. Do you think that is going to happen, or is it a very optimistic view and then at the end insurance will manage to slow these innovations down?
So I think that common sense tells you, yes, it will happen. Reality shows you a little bit the contrary. I can make you an example. There is a very interesting survey from the Geneva Association, and they went to a survey to millennium, so young people, the so-called millennium. And the question was, of course, what kind of distribution channel are you going to use going forward, and what is your preferred distribution channel? And guess what? Which is unbelievable in my way. 72% of the millennium said, I want to have an agent going forward to do the job for me. And that's incredible, because if you think those people are growing up with mobiles, and you would think these people are the only one who are going to use mobile in every step of their life. And they come back and they say, in insurance, I want to have an agent. Which shows you that the hurdles are going to be high to make sure that, technology will take over our business. And I think the reason is also understandable, because at the end of the day, trust is driving our business as such. This is a very important element which is going to remain also in the mind of people. If I pay something, I want to have a face who tells me then afterwards that he will defend my interests.
Very good. In terms of the regulator, do you actually have a lot of interaction with the insurance companies that want to bring a new innovation into the market? And how do you define your role in this process?
Effectivement, nous poussons à l'innovation. Maintenant, effectivement, le problème qui se pose, c'est que souvent la réglementation ne suit pas. La réglementation peut constituer un frein. Et donc, nous avons un rôle. D'abord, nous devons absolument regarder quels sont les obstacles qu'il faut lever au niveau réglementaire. Mais d'une certaine manière, nous poussons le secteur des assurances à nous bousculer, c'est-à-dire à venir avec des innovations, avec de nouvelles approches qui vont nous pousser, nous, enfin régulateurs, à faire évoluer la réglementation. Aujourd'hui, par exemple, le problème qui se pose avec le plus d'acuité au Maroc, c'est la distribution. Pour pouvoir développer l'assurance inclusive, l'un des principaux obstacles, c'est la distribution. Le réseau de distribution classique, que sont les agents et courtiers, n'est pas adapté pour la distribution de ce type de produits, sachant que les primes sont faibles et fatalement, les commissions de ces produits sont extrêmement faibles. Donc, les intermédiaires ne peuvent pas aisément distribuer ces produits. Donc, l'idée, c'est de passer à travers les associations de microcrédit, par exemple, mais le plus important serait de pouvoir procéder à la distribution par mobile. Et là, aujourd'hui, effectivement, nous avons un travail à faire pour lever un certain nombre d'obstacles.
One question that I'm often asked is, do companies and indeed regulators have enough resources in order to be able to handle innovative new ideas? And also, how do you deal with, especially from an insurer and reinsurer point of view, in markets where your innovation may have to face more than one regulatory hurdles? You may have to go through the insurance regulator and some banking or other regulator, or even healthcare regulator, depending on what the product that you're offering. How do you go over these hurdles, and is the industry staffed for innovation, or is it staffed for a steady state?
So in my view, I think that there is certainly enough resources in respect of, let's say, different potential products. But before you talk about products, you have to understand the needs of the market. And needs are different from market to market. Also, the level of responsiveness of people as such. I always make this example, the Swiss market. The Swiss market is one of the most profitable market in the world. And believe it or not, we as people, as consumer, we know that we are paying our products about 30-40% higher than all around other countries, like Germany, France, Italy, and many direct operators tried to come into the Swiss market, and they all failed. They all failed. Admiral, Generali, Allianz, Zurich, they all offered direct operations. Technology was used until the day, even the people are saying, oh, digital will be the future of our industry, which again, I'm not against digital, don't misunderstand me. So I'm here because I spend a lot of time to analyze this situation. However, if I ask you now, how much money all this company invested in technology? How many times you heard that the company bought another company and invested 10, 15, 20 billion. But how many times did you heard this company is investing 3, 4, 5, 10 billions in new software, in new technology to make sure that they are up to date and state on the art in respect of technology as such? Probably, very rarely you have come to this type of information because there is not enough investments, on the technology side from companies because they earn enough. I mean, they have nice margins. Why should they cannibalize their own system when they have, the margins that shareholders are expecting? So it's extremely difficult. You get on one side, you have a profitable portfolio, but you have to prepare for the future.
So the big players are benefiting from a relatively steady state of the market, which they dominate as it is. Yeah?
Of course, and I think it's understandable, and that's not a criticism, that you're trying to keep the situation as long as possible. Now, the major problem that we have as an industry is that innovation can come from outside. And I tried to show this, through the slides that I, at the end, when you clearly see that people like Amazon, like Apple, like everybody that has a lot of data, they start, of course, to enter into other fields. And insurance will be one of the fields that they are going to be extremely, let's say, able to be competitive. And I think that's the big challenge that we are going to face going forward, to be able to overcome this competition, because those people are strong in respect of capital, are strong in respect of skills, and they are not shy to bring then afterwards new things on the table, new ideas.
Talking about innovation coming from outside and from other either areas or industries, I was interested to see on both your presentation, Mr. El-Alami, and also our Chinese speaker, Dr. Zhu, that Solvency II and risk-based models are now very much the fashion, if you wish. Can you tell us from the regulatory perspective, what has been the biggest challenge in introducing a risk-based capital model in a market like Morocco? Is it something that you would advise emerging regulators in emerging markets to do it tomorrow, or think hard before they do it?
Oui, merci pour cette question. Alors, évidemment, la solvabilité basée sur les risques n'est pas un chantier simple, je dirais. Ça demande énormément d'efforts. Effectivement, au départ, il y a une certaine complexité. Lorsqu'on voit Solvency II en Europe, ça a été, disons, un petit peu l'exemple qu'on a pris. Ça a pris des années et des années. C'est vrai qu'en Europe, il fallait également unifier les différentes législations parce qu'il y avait aussi un travail de standardisation. Alors, nous étions effectivement conscients de cet aspect-là et l'idée c'était de regarder les expériences étrangères, notamment Solvency II, et de mettre en place un système simplifié, adapté à notre marché. Il est clair qu'il ne s'agit pas de faire du copier-coller. Nous n'avons pas le même marché, nous n'avons pas la même profondeur, nous n'avons pas des acteurs aussi puissants, je dirais, mais nous nous sommes rendus compte que la marge de solvabilité applicable au Maroc ne captait pas l'ensemble des risques. Et effectivement, elle ne, disons, captait que le risque globalement de souscription. Alors l'idée, c'était d'aller au-delà et de capter les autres risques, que sont les risques de contrepartie, de marché, les risques opérationnels et autres. Donc voilà, donc l'idée, c'était de mettre en place un système qui s'inspire des meilleurs standards internationaux, mais de le simplifier et de l'adapter au marché marocain. Et c'est ce que je disais tout à l'heure. Aujourd'hui, les assureurs au Maroc sont des investisseurs institutionnels. Ils animent la place, le marché, enfin la bourse de Casablanca, qui reste une petite bourse à l'échelle mondiale, mais qui est une bourse assez importante à l'échelle africaine. Et donc, on a besoin que ces assureurs continuent à jouer le rôle d'investisseurs institutionnels, puisque nous avons encore besoin qu'ils investissent dans les infrastructures du pays. Alors, pour répondre plus précisément à votre question, est-ce que c'est un système qui est adapté à n'importe quel marché ? Moi, je pense que les risques, il faut les appréhender d'une manière ou d'une autre. Après, il faut évidemment faire l'effort de mettre en place un système qui soit adapté et qui ne soit pas trop lourd. Alors, d'un autre côté, dans la mise en place donc, de la solvabilité basée sur les risques au Maroc, nous prendrons le temps. C'est-à-dire on va mettre sur pied les différents piliers, mais nous donnerons suffisamment de temps aux entreprises pour qu'elles puissent s'adapter et pour justement qu'elles ne désinvestissent pas de manière brutale au niveau du marché boursier, puisque en fait, effectivement, disons, l'investissement en actions, comme c'est considéré comme étant quand même plus risqué que d'autres investissements, fatalement, ça va coûter un peu plus en capital. Et donc, nous donnerons le temps suffisant aux entreprises pour pouvoir gérer cette transition dans les meilleures conditions.
Thank you very much. I think we had a brief but very interesting discussion on innovation and regulation. Unfortunately, we did not manage to innovate and finish on time. We hugely overrun, like most sessions in conferences like this. I would like to thank you for your patience, and I hope you enjoyed it as much as we did. Thank you.
Mr. Vasilis, thank you very much for your moderation. Thank you very much. I would like to thank also Mr. Othman Khalil Al-Alami and Mr. Salvatore Orlando for their very interesting contribution. And now we have some gifts. I would like to invite Mr. Fassi Fihri Youssef, our host, to give some symbolic gifts to our speakers. Thank you very much. Je vais demander à la régie de bien vouloir rafraîchir le panel, si c'est possible de vous assurer qu'il y a de l'eau propre. Thank you very much. So I'll be inviting for the fourth panel strengthening Afro-Asian cooperation. And I would like to invite Mr. Joey Asmar, Executive Director, Group Head of Facultative Shady Ray, Mr. Antoine Bavandi, Crisis and Disaster Risk Finance, World Bank Group, Mr. Januario Aliwalas, Secretary General of RDC. If they can join me, please, on the stage. So we will start with the presentation. We're going to be... Can we... working, thank you very much. So our first presentation will be... would you like to start with your presentation? Then we'll go through the questions, how to reinforce the cooperation between Asia and Africa. Would you like to be seated here and you can control the slides from here, or do you prefer to be... Please, please.
Good morning, everybody. I'm from Manila, and after 24 hours of flight, I think it was worth it because I've gained a lot of friends. I don't know if any one of you have traveled that much of a time, so I'm still jet-lagged, actually. But thank you to the organizers for inviting me. It's really a pleasure to be here. 40 years ago, I was looking for a job and didn't realize that there is such a thing as an insurance industry. It was an accident. And I wonder if any of you, while attending university, thought that I'll work in an insurance industry. Probably not. May I see a show of hands? Those of you who predicted that you will work in insurance? I guess not, right? About the same time, and may I have the slides now, please? While waiting for the slides, I'd like to tell you more about the association I'm involved in. It's called Association of Insurers and Reinsurers of Developing Countries. And it was born actually about 40 years ago. You can treat it as a smaller brother of FAIR. It was born in Manila, Philippines, but it was baptized in Morocco, Casablanca, in the early 70s. As you see that the objectives of the association are in parallel with FAIR. Right now, we are present in 3 continents. We have about 125 companies in about 30 countries in Asia, Africa, and a few members in the Americas. We have about 40 members in Africa, about 80 in Asia, and a sprinkling of members in other continents. And we have been doing conferences like this one every other year. And we're doing the 22nd conference in Ghana. And I'd like to invite all of you to come to Accra because we promise to give you a good conference. So it's really complementing FAIR in a sense that every time there's a FAIR conference like here, there's no conference for us, but next year we'll have one. And so come and visit us there. In Africa, we have members in Ghana, Nigeria, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Kenya, Tanzania, Malawi, Mauritius, and Mozambique. In Asia, we are present in 17 countries, including Russia, North Korea, Hong Kong, the Philippines, of course, Thailand, Bangladesh, Sri Lanka, India, Maldives, Qatar, Oman, UAE, Bhutan, Nepal, and Bahrain. So it's probably the only association that spans across 3 or 4 continents. I am basically a trainer. My passion is teaching, and so I'd like to talk a little bit more about areas of cooperation in the field of education and training. One of the things that we've been discussing is what are the commonalities, Asia, Africa. And I think it's obvious that we have very large populations and population that's still increasing. And I think 10 years, 20 years from now, we probably will account for about 70% of the world's population. And with large populations, the problem of poverty is there. We have a lot of poor citizens all over the place. And if you notice, that brings about a lot of challenges and a lot of projects like infrastructure, the need for training, how to handle catastrophes, because that's where most of the events happen. And talking about microinsurance, of course, like in the Philippines, we've been appointed as a regional training center for microinsurance in ASEAN. And we've been doing seminars for those countries there. Succession planning and training are the areas I'd like to focus on. I don't know if you've come across Massar's research report, and they published a handbook actually called Jumping the Talent Curve. And in that publication, there are a lot of interesting highlights that I'd like to share with you. For instance, they say that 25% of our workforce will retire soon, and if they have not retired yet. I always joke that it's an industry for old people. Very few of our employees are young, and the leaders are getting older and older. In the Philippines, for instance, when a CEO retires, they replace him with somebody they pirate from another company. So they're just moving around in a small sphere or circle. And you will probably wonder what is the reason for that. And I think it is because we have not been recruiting the right talent that we need. And we have not been able to plan succession properly. Recruiting the right talent, to me, is a problem of the industry because the impression that they have is that insurance is not a good career. So that we lose talent to banks, multinationals, and all of those other industries. And it's a sad fact. Like I said, for instance, in my case, I didn't even know that there is a good career at that in insurance. And so the problem starts with the recruitment of good talent, training them and keeping them. I believe that even if the world is changing with the disruptions, if you have good leaders, good talent in your company, they will survive. They can be flexible enough, but not with the kind of talent that we've been developing so far. So it's the problems are manifold, but if you come to crystallize them, it's really very simple. the problem is recruiting, attracting quality employees, and then training them properly. So, aging workforce, poor quality recruits, unsustained and unplanned training, poor succession planning, those are the things that we've been talking about ever since. But sadly, I think we have not been doing a lot on those areas. So what is happening is that, okay, we hire somebody, the best of whoever comes to us, and then we send him or her to conferences like this or training seminars, usually from the West. And then hopefully he will gather enough experience to do a good leadership job. To me, that is not enough. We must build future leaders, and we can actually cooperate and develop human capital properly. And you know, if we just join forces, we can make the economies of scale work for us. We have a lot of good training institutes in the region with overcapacity. We have good faculty everywhere in Africa and Asia. But we still have not really harnessed the pool of resources. I was thinking maybe we can develop a virtual Afro-Asian Insurance Academy, one where we can invite partners from good faculty from all over the place to share their talent and do the mentoring. We can invite institutions like Singapore College of Insurance, Malaysian Insurance Institute, the India Insurance Institute, or the Insurance Institute for Asia and the Pacific in Manila. And some, I'm sure Africa also has a lot of these training institutes that can really put together a plan where they can share their space for free, where we can get good faculty from all of our countries and make them and help us develop a standard training program for our executives, for our new employees, without spending a lot of money. Because right now, I know you'll agree with me that training costs a lot of money. So the challenge is really how to recruit good people. If you just wait for them to come, they will not come, because they think insurance is not a sexy subject. It's even looked upon as with a lot of questions. But you know, once you explain it to them, they'll start loving it, and you'll be able to get good talents. In the Philippines, we started, when I was still executive director of the Insurance Institute, we went around the provinces and went to the best universities and talked to the graduates, a big group like this, maybe 1,000 students. I talked to them about the career in insurance. And you know, out of the 1,000 or so, about 100 will say, I'm interested. When you call them, about maybe 20 will come for the interview. And out of the 20, I get about 10 good people. Then I ask them to go through a program, about 2 months. While they're waiting for a job, I tell them, join me, I'll train you. No fees, no contracts, no. You just enjoy it. And after that, I offer them to companies. And most of them are now occupying leadership positions. I've been doing that for 5 years, and out of those 5 years, maybe about 50 have been fully trained, because some fall out. And about 35 of those are still with us in the insurance industry and the reinsurance industry. And I'm proud to say that the industry appreciated that program. I was thinking, what if we can bring that to a bigger sphere? What if we can do that for the whole of Asia and even Africa? What if we develop a fund that can really sustain something like that, a scholarship program where we tap into the best talents, which will be the future of our industry in the future? What if we can develop a standard and accredited program of training for our employees, for our new employees? These will be the leaders of the future. And I think we have a lot of synergistic resources that can make this dream a reality. So my challenge is this. Let's work on the basics. Let's work on talent, which is our biggest challenge. Once we solve this, I think all the others will just follow. Thank you very much.
Dr. Jenny Aliwalas, Secretary General from AirDC, and thank you very much for putting the focus on human resources, choosing the right people, training them properly, and keeping them for the industry. It's very important. Thank you very much. And it could be, of course, a very important cooperation, helping cooperation between Africa and Asia to have this virtual faculty. So congratulations for this idea, and I hope it will be taken into account as one of the major recommendations to strengthen these relations. Our next speaker, Mr. Antoine Bavandi, Crisis and Disaster Risk Finance, World Bank Group.
Thank you, Mr. Moderator. Thank you very much for your time and attention. My presentation will be short. I will try and focus on the key points I have prepared. But before that, just a little bit of advertisement. I will quickly present my team, what we do in the World Bank Crisis and Disaster Risk Finance team. So our mandate is to support developing countries, ministries of finance, disaster risk management agencies, and humanitarian partners to strengthen resilience, financial resilience to natural catastrophes and disasters. So that includes a global portfolio of clients, obviously, and it includes working alongside clients on diverse topics such as regulation, risk modeling, reforms, insurance, incentives for insurance, and ensuring that systems are in place to trigger quickly before, during, and after a catastrophe event. So effectively, we help implement insurance. That's one of our key objectives. But insurance as part of a broader, let's say, risk financing strategy. As part of that sort of bigger picture, we also acknowledge the need for regional collaboration. And regional collaboration, and that's one of my key points, to us can only happen, can only take place if there's an alignment of interest. And one of the strong areas of sort of common shared interest in the topic of financial resilience to disasters is the area of data collaboration, risk information. So as part of this, we initiated a specific technical assistance activity called the Crisis and Disaster Risk Finance Analytics, which helps a number of countries, which are actually open to all countries, and which helps sort of clients around the world to better appreciate the potential impact of natural disasters, share lessons, and discuss how to innovate in terms of risk information solutions and risk financing solutions. These are the two key topics of our activity. So happy to follow up with some of you if you're interested, but the area of analytics, of risk information, of insurtech is very much a strong, let's say, a candidate for cooperation. Now back to my talking points. Effectively, what's required to ensure, facilitate, scale up, I think that's an important word, collaboration is the alignment of interest on technical exchange, technical knowledge. And so I would echo basically what was said about talent and human resources and capacity, because this to me is a single topic of building capacity across borders ensuring that lessons are being shared across countries and on a number of peril types, on a number of topics: flooding, emergency management, emergency response management, earthquake response. So all of these topics are already seeing international collaboration, but to us this needs to be scaled up. Now, how do we reach scale if we have this clear alignment of interest? To us, this is a multi-dimensional problem. So there's only so much that the insurance industry can do. In our view, it takes institutional effort and capacity, financial capacity as well, and let's say donors also support. It's important to also consider the role of donors or development banks in ensuring the linkages, in making sure that associations like yours or initiatives at regional level or continental level can have the resources, the financial resources, the mandate to actually operate and build capacity over the years. So it's a multi-dimensional problem, and that's the second point I wanted to make. We will never resolve, let's say, the challenge of insurance products for everyone and the protection gap and the Afro-Asian collaboration on insurance if we only look at it from the insurance lens. I think it takes regulators, authorities, donors, development banks, and technical agencies as well. The third point I wanted to make is specifically on the role of regional partners, regional institutional partners. That, to us, is a very strong vehicle, legitimate vehicle to support these exchanges. And as an example, I wanted to quote, to at least mention what the World Bank is doing on flood risk management and flood risk financing across the whole of Asia, South Asia, Southeast Asia, through the Southeast Asia Disaster Risk Insurance Facility, which is currently expanding. And it's effectively a forum, first, which allows a number of countries to discuss constraints, respective constraints, challenges, issues, resources, and opportunities. And only second, is it an insurance pool. So only those countries who have built-in confidence and are part of a broader discussion and have sort of raised awareness amongst their decision makers, only these countries then decide to join the insurance pool. I think that's a very strong example of how we see sustainability in insurance terms as far as the let's say cooperation across countries is concerned, and in particular between Africa and Asia. The need for a forum, a platform, is very, very meaningful, but it can only happen if the topic is, let's say, clearly identified, if the audience is clearly targeted, which is my actually third point. We need a targeted approach. It is very, very difficult to just aim for partnerships across sectors if there's no clearly identified objectives. You know, sometimes within a country, the insurance sector would be split across different lines of business, and they would not necessarily speak to each other. So, likewise, I think in terms of Afro-Asian collaboration, we need to build these linkages through concrete topics, examples, flood risk management, flood risk financing, as an example, earthquake, emergency response, pools. There's a number of topics that can help foster collaboration. And as a final example, I wanted to talk about the SECO program, which is the Swiss Development Agency program, which is a perfect example of how collaboration actually happens across boundaries on a very niche topic, which is the topic of sovereign insurance to catastrophe risk for middle-income countries. Very early on, we realized in the bank that we needed to establish these communications at different levels, depending on the capacity of the countries. Clearly, a country with no or very limited capacity, let's say on typhoon response management, will find it difficult to speak to, let's say, the Philippines, who is a very advanced country with a lot of experience. So we are actually very happy to see the SECO partnership being that meaningful amongst middle-income countries partners, because there's this strong alignment of interest, similar level of engagement, similar capacity, similar constraints on the specific and well-targeted topic of disaster risk insurance at sovereign level. So this is my concluding example of how we see collaboration actually happening in concrete terms. Thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you very much, Mr. Antoine Bavandi. Thank you, please. Our next speaker, Mr. Joe Asmar, Executive Director at Shadid Ray. Thank you first very much for being with us, and thank you for your support to this event as a major sponsor. Please, would like to have just some idea of your institution before going into the discussion, please.
Exactly. Good morning, everyone. I just wanted to present a little bit about Shadid Ray and what we do actually in the region. Shadid Ray was and is the most growing reinsurance broker in the Middle East region. We cover an area from all Levant area, GCC, and North Africa, in addition to Egypt. Last couple of years, we have been investing more into Africa. So we were the first broker to be installed in CFC to handle all North African business and West Africa, including the French-speaking countries. At the same time, we have done a joint venture into Mauritius for it to grow into the East African countries. For us, Africa presents a huge opportunity. It's not only for us, but even all reports of IMF and other financial institutions consider Africa as one of the most growing continents with a lot of opportunities. At the same time, we have always worked to interest our reinsurers who are based into Middle East or Asia into African business. However, there are a lot of hurdles that we are facing on the way. Some of it related to hubs, some of it related to law and jurisdiction. And even in Africa today, between North Africa, West Africa, and East Africa, different rules and regulation apply. So this continuous hurdle that we need to go beyond in order to open these opportunities for reinsurers. At the same time, we have always believed in our partners in Africa, and many of them are already supporting business emanating from the Middle East region and from Asia, Pakistan, Turkey, and other territories. So our aim is to grow further. For sure, we need to find certain opportunities to create this synergy between the different entities, companies, and reinsurers. But for us, the commitment for Asia and Africa is crucial because we consider that this is our main land and main territories where we can still provide opportunities and added value for our clients and our reinsurers. At the same time, we are investing heavily into human resources through different trainings, through different seminars, and at the same time, trying to provide new products and new opportunity for our clients.
Thank you very much. Thank you. So, first question, what are the common areas that will compel cooperation? We heard yesterday about differences. The penetration rate is different in Africa than in Asia, for sure. But what are the common areas that could support this cooperation? Please, Mr. Asma, please.
I think the common area between Asia and Africa is, frankly, the complementarity into the economy that we have today. Today, Asia, to maintain their growth, I'm talking in general, not only in the insurance
Yeah, yeah.
sector, need the commodities and raw material that is being produced from Africa. At the same time, the Asian countries that are taking advantage of these raw material are investing into infrastructure and into technologies in Africa. And these 2 points are a major constraint into the development of African countries and the potential growth of Africa for the future.
Dr. Ali Wallace, please, on the same question.
I've always believed that it is in microinsurance where we can make the deepest contribution. The growing population and the strong percentage of poor families in our regions needs us, and that's where we can make a dent. We have had a lot of success stories in Africa, which can be shared in Asia, and I think it only takes a lot of persistence in making this grow. In the Philippines, we're trying also to insure most of the population, at least for fire and personal accident, but we're still very much behind in terms of health and agricultural microinsurance. That's, I think, where a lot of opportunities to make a positive contribution will be.
Mr. Bavandi?
Sure. Two examples.
Silver.
Okay. So the first point, just to echo, so I echo absolutely what has been said, and I would just want to add the need for technical cooperation as well. The two countries are what we call data poor environments.
The two continents.
The two continents are data poor environments. Yeah. And so this is an opportunity at the same time as it is a challenge, because we see the potential of disruptive technologies, insurtech, remote sensing, satellite data, to actually bring these continents up to where other, let's say, continents or countries are in terms of level of advancement. The example of exposure data is really telling, because now with satellite data, with drone data, you are able to map the exposure within a couple of hours, couple of days, couple of weeks, which is a very disruptive innovation, which can benefit both continents. I would just want to add also that in terms of actual examples, we need to talk about the Global Index Insurance Facility, the GIF program, for which we have the global lead in the room from the World Bank. This is actually an example of global cooperation across the continents on the specific topic of microinsurance. So absolutely agree with you. Micro-level insurance, small holder insurance, is actually a very strong topic in terms of alignment of interest, in terms of capacity building requirements, in terms of how the technology, how the regulators can help sort of boost the penetration rate and the financial resilience of farmers.
Thank you so much, Mr. Asmar. Are there already markets in which Asia and Africa are cooperating? What would be the segments and markets where there is already a cooperation, or any of the speakers, please?
Frankly, the cooperation, I think, is still on a minimal level, where there is a lot of potential to grow it. Today, if I take the example of Middle East, some of the reinsurers who are present in Africa are operating. However, there are a lot of constraints in terms of rating requirements, legal entities, hubs, financial hubs from where they can operate. And today, I think we are starting to see that. So if you consider, for example, the CFC example in Morocco as a financial hub for Africa, it's helping, giving more strength and confidence for insurance companies to be able to ride through this. Mm-hmm. At the same time, I think there is still more opportunity. Today, what we are seeing more between Africa and Asia, that whenever we have governmental investment coming from China or Korea or different other territories, the insurance to these countries are coming automatically with them. So frankly, the local companies or the regional reinsurers that are present in Africa are not benefiting from this. And even in territories where there is a kind of local cession required, we are seeing only fronting done on this basis.
Thank you. What about the role of China, India, the major players? We see that they're going to be one of the most important markets in the future. What role can they play in linking between Asia and Africa?
Today, as everybody knows, China is heavily investing, and I think it became the first investor in Africa. And frankly, on the level of infrastructure, they are doing a lot. And they are taking advantage in terms especially of energy, transport, sanitation, and other aspects related to infrastructure. However, if we parallel this into insurance, frankly, it's very, very minimal. So other than fronting arrangement, we don't foresee really a cooperation between these territories. Mm-hmm. And I think a kind of cooperation is possible, especially that local markets or regional reinsurers know much more their exposure in terms of natural catastrophe, cat exposure, which can, at the same time, find a certain solutions at better rate even to have this synergy between the local company or regional reinsurers and the Chinese. As for the Indian has been heavily involved in East Africa, especially on everything related to technology and the information system. And we see the influence that they have also on the market, especially the insurance market. But still, a lot of opportunities are there. Maybe a kind of pools, as mentioned before, more joint ventures, even establishing new reinsurers, bigger size, who can cater for either Africa or Asia. This is, I think, something that for the future we need to look at.
Thank you. Mr. Ali Wallace, on the same subject.
Right. If you Google Asia-Africa cooperation, most of what you'll get would be infrastructure, and the main players would be China and maybe to a certain extent India. Very little on research, new products, financial inclusion, but mostly it's on big projects that entail building structures, roads, bridges, and all of those. But very little in terms of developing the other parts of the industry, like innovative products that will make sure that more people can be insured. I guess, well, when you're a capitalist, you would focus on those that will ensure a big return. But I was hoping that they would also embark on cooperation in terms of building human talent, for instance, or building new products that may not give you a lot of profits, but will ensure that we are serving the poor better. Thank you.
I'd like to know what would be the role of multinational corporations in probably encouraging this cooperation and strengthening the links. First, is there an interest from the multinational corporations, and what can they do in that regard? Mr. Bavandi, what is your view about it?
Sure. So I think this is a big opportunity to indeed leverage their expertise, experience, footprint. Now, to put things in perspective, it's important to understand they have their own interests, and it will be difficult for a big corporation to invest in a new country and a new continent if there's no data, if the penetration rate is really, really low. So I think it takes more than these big players to build in sustainability. But they are very, very much important. Maybe something we haven't talked about is their role, or the role of the industry in terms of perception of the insurance, because this is a strong hurdle still in Asia and in Africa. When we talk about insurance, to many people, many businesses, it is very often seen as either a gambling or a luxury, something unaffordable. So whatever these big players can do in terms of spreading the word, talking about success stories, the Indian insurance market is very, very exciting these days. It's growing rapidly. There are probably tons of success stories in terms of resilience, how people have benefited from that market that could be shared, I think, regionally.
Please.
Just adding to this point, I think also the takaful companies also are helping to spread this into especially African countries with Muslim population. And we have seen a growth. Unfortunately, it's not to the level that we expected till now, but I think there are a lot of opportunity to grow on that in the future.
What would be the explanation of the fact that it's not catching as much as we were imagining? Lack of information or not really?
I think what was mentioned before, today everybody is looking more for the financial return rather than the message itself. And I think this was one of the reasons really not to promote takaful further in African or even Asian countries more.
Okay, okay. And there will be a round table right after the coffee break about takaful. So for sure, if you have any questions, it will be a good opportunity to ask them. What are the gaps that need to be filled? And I'll ask each one of you, what are the gaps that still need to be filled maybe on regulatory level, on other levels? What are the gaps to fill to encourage this proximity? Please, Doctor.
The talent gap.
Talent.
I still believe that we have not done enough to recruit the right talent, to fill the big number of retirees that will be leaving our industry soon. We have not been successful in attracting the right leaders. When I attend conferences like this, I see the same faces. The same old guys attend.
You're not tired of seeing us, I hope.
I'm a retired person myself, but I was hoping that I could see more of the millennials attending. I knew fresh views and faces, but maybe we have not been successful in communicating the value of the industry that we're in. Insurance is not taught in college or universities. Banking is, but insurance, no. We've been trying to put insurance in the curriculum for colleges in Manila. We have not been successful. We had one, a Bachelor of Science in Insurance Management. You know how many enrolled? Less than 10. We had to scrap it. You know the problem? When they go back to their parents and tell them, I'm interested in an insurance career, the parents will say, are you crazy? They will just ask you to sell. So again, how do you solve the talent gap? It's a big challenge. You start with the right recruiting, convincing. You don't ask them to come. You go to them, explain the beauty of having an insurance career. Only then, and then give them a chance to learn about the basics of the product. And then, you know, the transformation is really fantastic. They talk about it with their friends, classmates, and pretty soon you've converted them into believers of insurance. That's where I think the seed can start. Because these millennials, they can take care of these disruptions, but you just have to get them in first. That's my view. Thank you.
Okay, there will be also probably a challenge about language. You were talking about French-speaking languages, and I think there is a barrier of language anyway that will have to be filled as well to reach the French-speaking countries. Some other gaps to be filled, please?
I'm a little bit concentrating on the regulatory aspect. I think this is very crucial. Today, if we compare, for example, between Asia and Africa, In Asia, you have at least 10 financial centers who are available between Beijing, Shanghai, Singapore, Tokyo, Mumbai, Dubai. So in Africa, till now, I think other than CFC and Mauritius, the number is smaller. So you need to have, whenever an investor is coming or an insurance want to invest in other countries, he need to have the protection from a legal aspect, from a regulatory aspect also, and a jurisdiction that is capable. At the same time, whenever we highlight the infrastructure, yesterday I was meeting with some people from South Africa, and frankly, I was very surprised that from them going from Morocco to South Africa, they need to go through Dubai. So frankly, this is something. So unfortunately, these need to be worked because today investors need a much simpler access. They need internet. They need a fast means to cooperate and have the communication. So all of these aspects are very necessary for people to come and invest in different countries and different mentalities.
Thank you. Mr. Bavandi, you were talking about crisis. I read one of the studies that was talking about the major risks today, and it's more about social risks and social crisis. Is it something that you also study in your department?
So we tend to focus on sort of external disruptions. As part of that, we do address socioeconomic shocks, but at impact level, in terms of what it means for the population, how to prevent the impact of these events over the population, over the businesses, the SMEs. So the answer is yes to some extent, but at the same time we cannot intervene in the domestic sort of political scene and address the root cause of social disruptions. That would not be our mandate as a development partner. But you are right. I think the point I see in your question is the complexity of, let's say, the risk scene. It's clearly because of climate change, because of globalization, because of the procurement chain that is now more and more intertwined. We are seeing effects in Thailand from, let's say, a typhoon in Japan, and vice versa. So the interconnection of risks, the multi-dimensional aspect of risks means we are having to go beyond our core expertise. A good example is the risk of famine. As you might know, right now in Afghanistan and in Somalia, we are two different countries, two different continents, two very different contexts, but we are trying to support the authorities and humanitarians in finding objective risk information to trigger response. So that includes support from the markets, the insurance markets, but not only. So I would like to put this question in the bigger picture and talk about I think it's a good example of the different building blocks we need to address the protection gap and the collaboration. One is regulations, absolutely. Data, talent, data, we shouldn't overlook data, that's very, very critical. Capital is pretty much there. I think it's mostly a matter of, to me, the main challenge would be the one of perception, communication, demonstrating the added value of insurance to many different beneficiaries. In the specific context of households with limited revenues, countries dealing with other priorities. So how can we demonstrate and how can we be smart about the message, the communication? And that, I think, includes disruption. That includes the technology. Because if we can sell that with nice satellite pictures, as trivial as it seems, I think we can raise awareness much, much easier and demonstrate the added value.
Thank you very much. Ladies and gentlemen, I wish there were thousands of people here to
listen to our speakers, but it's, as I said, it's not the quantity that counts. And also, all those conferences are on streaming, so if you have colleagues that would like to see them again, I think it would be of great interest. In your name, I would like to thank our speakers and give them, please, a round of applause. Please join your hands for the speakers. And now we're going for a short coffee break offered by GIG Kuwait, and we will be meeting again here in 15-20 minutes. Thank you so much. Thank you. Merci. I would like to invite Mr. Yasser Baharna to give the gifts, symbolic gifts to our speakers. Please, Mr. Baharna.
لا الحين هناك جاي.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome again. It's my pleasure to introduce the Takaful session. And I'd like to invite the president, Mr. Christos Adamantiadis, CEO Marsh Middle East and Africa. He will be the president and moderator for this table. We have also on the panel Mr. Isam Al-Ansari, CEO Takaful GEG. Mr. Omar Gouda, Regional Director, Northeast Africa and Middle East Region for Africa Ray, and Mr. Fadel Al-Sabeir, Head of General Treaty Department, Hanover Re Takaful. I'll leave you the floor, Mr. President.
Okay. We are like a small family over here, as you can tell, right? Not too many people. I hope we can spice things up. We're missing one panelist. Oh, no, there he is. He just arrived. Okay. So without further ado, let me begin. With the global Takaful market reaching a value of 21 billion in the previous financial year, 2018, and with the market further projected to reach a premium volume of 44 billion by 2024, expected to grow at an impressive CAGR of almost 13% over the next 5 years. What is sparing or impeding growth and interest in Takaful insurance? This is the topic we're going to deliberate upon today with my distinguished panel. I will not reintroduce them, they were just introduced. What I will do, nevertheless, is ask Omar to maybe walk us through some of his thoughts around the Takaful market.
Thank you very much. Good morning, everyone. Actually, I will go through very briefly through Takaful challenges and opportunities in Africa at the moment. It may be well known to those who are working on Takaful that Takaful started in Africa, started in 1964 in Egypt, and then with the first Sharia compliance policy, and then the first Islamic insurance company in Sudan, and even the first fully Takaful or Sharia compliant market in Sudan in 1992. Takaful is growing, winning more land in Africa, but of course, due to the small size of the African markets, Takaful is gaining land, but very small compared to the international Takaful market. At the moment, we see Takaful expanded to Kenya, Nigeria, Tanzania, Gambia, Tunisia, Libya, Algeria, Mauritania, South Africa, and of course, in addition to Egypt and Sudan, the origin of Takaful. The industry is still in its early stage of development, despite that it started, as we said, since 1964. The insurance penetration increased faster than the GDP per capita in developing economies. And this one of even for Takaful, still is a good characteristic for the Takaful industry. And we used during the last decade to see Takaful grow with 2 digits. But unfortunately, during the last 2 or 3 years, we saw that this is reducing, and at the moment, according to the last report of Islamic Financial Board, it's now like 4% increase, as we saw from the most recent released report. Takaful is actually also, as long as it will be for Muslims mainly, that it has good opportunity. We'll see that Muslims in Africa is about 53% of the population, which is an excellent market. Asia, 30%, while in Europe, excluding Turkey, it's 7.2%. Takaful products should meet the Muslim needs, but also because it's presenting the the cooperative part of takaful or the ethical part of it, it can suit more client base like non-Muslims, and we saw that in many countries where non-Muslims are welcoming and sometimes even very keen to buy Sharia-compliant products. The growth of technical margins and surpluses prospects for takaful operators are very different from the market to the other. You will find some markets have a good surplus, and in many other markets you will find a very thin margin which is hindering the growth and the spread of takaful industry. Of course, the takaful market is usually most of the takaful or all the takaful markets in emerging the economies, you can expect diversification and very diversified economies and environment from market to the other. There is intense competition between takaful operators within the takaful industry itself, and even more intense competition between the takaful operators and non-takaful market. Despite the volatility in the financial markets, the global takaful industry maintained high growth momentum. But as I just mentioned, this growth momentum is still higher than the growth in the conventional industry, but much less than what was recorded 3 or 4 years ago. The challenges facing the takaful growth in Africa is absence of appropriate legal framework. However, this more and more is tackled by the regulators, and at the moment we find that many countries and many markets presented full legislation structure for takaful in Africa. We will find in Kenya, in Nigeria, in Tunisia, and very recently in Morocco, and of course in Sudan. We'll find a comprehensive law to organize the takaful industry. Also, some of the challenges is that shortage of trained manpower to conduct business complying with Sharia rules, shortage of human capital, technical calibers, and expertise support by way of education. And this is actually one of the main challenges where takaful industry should tackle and should focus more on this challenge to find basis for better growth in the future. Also, there is low level of market research, low level of takaful awareness, which is part in a way of the low awareness of insurance in general. And at the moment also, the limited retakaful capacity to support retakaful arrangements in African countries, especially with the absence of many takaful operators during the last few years. At the moment, we'll have maybe in worldwide only 2 or 3 takaful operators, retakaful operators who has a fully fledged company, and many retakaful windows. But the overall capacity are not enough to meet all the expectations of the takaful industry, especially for the high risks. And also one of the challenges that the takaful industry in the direct side are not really supporting the retakaful operators, and you will find that there is severe competition all the time from the retakaful, from the conventional reinsurers to the retakaful operators, despite that it's originally a very limited market. However, all those challenges, still we have good opportunities in Africa. The penetration, the low penetration levels is reflecting a very good and excellent opportunity to grow. We will find this in Algeria, Egypt, Morocco, and Nigeria, where we see during the last few years more focus and more direction to establish takaful operators. And even I am aware that in Nigeria, for example, a very new company succeeded to have their license 2 or 3 weeks ago in Nigeria. Substantial Muslim population is another opportunity for Takaful industry. Of course, we knew that during the last decades, oil is started to be part of the main resources of Africa in addition to what we have from other raw materials. And this is another opportunity to improve the market and base for the Takaful operators. It's for insurance in general and for Takaful in particular. Of course, better economic growth and better policies for sustainable development is one of the main foundation to guarantee and to provide the success for Takaful and having better growth. Nowadays, and across the economies, especially in the emerging markets and developing countries, there is more focus on small and medium enterprises, and this is a good opportunity for Takaful, which may fit more than other providers of normal insurance services. Also, the increased use of modern technology and communication in financial activities is a great opportunity for the Takaful industry to minimize the cost and to reach a very wide client base. Without such technology, it may be very difficult to reach these clients. Increasing Takaful awareness among Muslim communities is also something which we can be an opportunity for the Takaful industry. How to accelerate Takaful growth in Africa? We need to invest more in infrastructure supporting institutions. We are talking about the whole village of educating firms and expertise who are assisting the industry, increasing insurance penetration rate, building relationship between the market players and the governments. And we can say for sure that regulators can drive the growth for the insurance industry and especially for Takaful with the new regulations in the countries I mentioned a minute ago. Is giving a good opportunity for Takaful for growth, and the industry can take the opportunity and to arrange for better future. Sharia compliance, manpower, education and training, research and development, public awareness of the Takaful concepts, seminars, forums, support every Takaful market providing necessary capacity. The distributed surplus can also maintain a better balanced technical portfolio for Takaful operators. Because actually, our clients are just translating the Takaful concepts in the surplus distribution. If we don't distribute surplus, it will be, especially when we are making profits, it will be very difficult to convince our clients of the Takaful. We need to establish supporting educational institutes and training centers to support various efforts and initiatives which can serve the Takaful industry, assist the Takaful's industry federations and associations. For example, we are in the International Takaful and Islamic Insurance Federation. We suffer a lot to even communicate with members and to convince Takaful operators to join the federation and to attend to the meetings and the conferences, which I hope that this will change very soon. Also, we need to assist in the standardization of the industry. We know at the moment that standards of Takaful may be different from market to market. While if we have one standards across the markets, that will assist the industry to be less costly, to make the transactions more understood, and it can be shared across the borders, and it will assist to minimize our cost to the minimum and spread our clientele base. We need to encourage and develop the enterprise risk management concepts for the Takaful industry. Takaful industry should be seen as professional operator on the same levels, on applying the same standards of the non-Takaful industry in general. We need to enhance also the social responsibility. Actually, this part, Takaful is being an ethical industry, ethical-based industry. The social responsibility should play a higher and more important role than it does at the moment. Finally, we need to adopt the InsurTech concepts, products, tools to reach our customers. Thank you very much. This is just a very quick light on Africa Takaful.
Thank you, Omar. I think you touched upon many of the critical issues around Takaful, and we will cover some of these in more detail as we go along the Q&A session. So let me start giving you an opportunity to get a breath with Essam and Fadel. Let's try to draw some parallels between Middle East, Africa, and Asia. Specifically Asia, because we've seen exponential growth in Takaful insurance over the last few years. What can the GCC and African Takaful markets learn from the Asian market and each other, especially in terms of distribution and regulation? So starting with Essam, maybe.
Hello. Thank you. Well, I think when we speak about the Southeast Asia and GCC, I think there is a difference here, because no doubt that the Asian Takaful industry existed well ahead of GCC, and which give them really the advantage of having up-to-date Takaful framework, regulations to meet the expectations of their market. In GCC, well, I think Takaful industry still it's young and requires a lot of changes to meet the expectations actually of the market. But what exactly the Central Bank of Bahrain have done, for example, I'm just maybe going to be specific to the Bahraini market, which definitely will apply to other GCC market as well. But in Bahrain, well, the Central Bank of Bahrain have really conducted a very lengthy and comprehensive consultations with the coordinations of the Takaful players in Bahrain. And they came up actually with a new, and they have changed the Takaful framework, where they have included 3 or 4 items. I'm gonna tell you about them. That was actually in the year 2015 and 16, so which gives the indications that the market is still on growing. Well, the changes Central Bank of Bahrain have done really, first of all, well, it's to protect the policyholders, and number 2, actually to give the solvency, the capital solvency requirements in a proper way. And number 3, it's the accounting methods, accounting practice, how really the Takaful companies, they can disclose their accountings. Well, again, I mean, the Central Bank of Bahrain, they have identified a corporate governance regarding the policyholder rights and the standardizations in Takaful. Well, and at the same time, the accounting practice and disclosures, especially around the capital adequacy and solvency margin. This is the issues where the Central Bank of Bahrain have taken the initiative after really a proper consultations with the Takaful companies in Bahrain. Well, when we come to, as you said, I mean, I think Asian markets, they are well ahead, and I'm sure still there are a lot for the GCC market to learn from the examples given by the Asian market, and especially when it comes to the varieties of the products they have, and at the same time the distribution channels and the regulatory guidance.
Yeah. Thank you. Fadel?
I think both markets are a bit different. We're seeing within the Gulf, most of the growth is mainly on motor and medical, whereas in Southeast Asia markets, the component of the premium income is a bit different. So there are a lot of initiatives on the micro takaful and micro insurance. Bank assurance and bank takaful is a major distribution channel in the Malaysian market. Currently, at the moment, because of the recent regulation in Malaysia, only 4 companies, we've got 4 takaful companies in Malaysia with a general license. Whereas we've got, I think, over 12 companies that have life license. That gives you an indication of how important the life and family takaful market is in Malaysia compared to the Gulf and the MENA region.
Which is a great segue to my next question around distribution. So, do you gentlemen believe, starting with Omar, that there is a distribution channel that is particularly suited to takaful? And can you describe the differences between, that you see between takaful and conventional insurance channels? Which are more effective in which case? So Omar, why don't we start with you?
I believe the distribution, distribution channels can be almost the same and having the same benefit for conventional and for takaful, but for sure that there are some channels which may be of more importance for takaful and even more suitable for takaful development and easy reach to the clients, especially if we are talking about micro takaful clients, where the takaful operators should focus more on the low cost and to reach the vast majority of people. And if we talk, for example, about Africa, we'll find that the clientele base are usually very poor with very low income, and sometimes they are not aware of the services of takaful, but they need it, and they need very fast approach to them. And in such, maybe bank takaful or bank insurance will play an important role if they can reach the small and medium-sized clients and save the costs. But the most effective way of distribution may be using the modern technology. And we find that in a country like in Kenya, they are very successful to spread the takaful services and to reach hundreds of thousands of clients who are very poor and maybe in the normal environment or normal conditions, they will not be able to buy insurance. But using modern technology assisted them a lot to buy the cover and be part of those who are protected with insurance or with takaful.
Thank you, thank you. And this is again a great segue to my next question, and maybe you can answer both simultaneously. Around technology, how is technology changing takaful insurance, or is it changing takaful insurance? How is digitization helping to grow takaful penetration? Is there a distribution play that we haven't actually exploited fully? So maybe Fadel, why don't you take this in?
I think takaful companies, if we look at the history of takaful companies, especially in the MENA region, there was an upsurge of the number of takaful operators, especially during the real estate boom from 2001 and up to the financial crisis. What takaful companies have lacked is innovation in terms of new products, new solutions, focus on personal lines rather than more of the same capacity. And in some markets, not all markets, but in some markets, takaful companies are being blamed for the deteriorating market conditions. So I would say the focus on personal lines, that's important, and the focus on investment and education plans, especially with the very young population, the use of technology and the Internet of Things. We hear about a lot of initiatives in this part of the world, telematics, okay, monitoring the behavior of policyholders will enable takaful companies and insurance companies in general to better price and better assess the risk, gather data and possibility for cross-selling as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, in fact, just to add of what my colleague Fadel actually has mentioned, well, I think when it comes to takaful, well, to be honest, I mean, especially on the direct takaful, well, the only way actually to survive is to enhance their technologies. And what we have seen actually recently that most of the takaful companies, in fact, they are trying their level best actually to enhance their technologies. And at the same time, the regulators also, they have introduced so many ways of distributions and technologies. If we look now toward the GCC, the fintech is one thing which is really, are really taken care by the governments and the regulators, and also the insurtech as well. And also, if you go back, let's say, to 1 year or 2 years back, where insurance firms, or let's say specialized aggregators being formed into the market. And also there are a lot of, let's say, I mean, takaful companies are trying their level best actually to introduce a new way of technologies by any kind of media, social media, for example. So there are a lot of ways that takaful companies have used. And at the same time, what we have seen really, I mean, again, in Bahrain and GCC, most of, let's say, the takaful companies are really putting a lot of efforts when it comes to their board of directors and the board as well, to convince them in enhancing and also allocating a very specialized, let's say, budget at least every year to enhance their technologies.
So investment in technology will impact one more thing, and this is bottom line. Okay. So let's turn our focus to bottom line, profitability. Islamic insurers, in the GCC at least, have recorded, as Omar mentioned, double-digit increase in GPW and contributions over the last few years. And although this is quite an improvement in terms of penetration and growth, overall profitability remains quite weak, with about 1/3 of companies continuing to generate underwriting losses. What else do you believe, gentlemen, can the industry do to manage the weak profitability record? So maybe starting with Omar and then the other two panelists.
Yeah, I believe that the important factor which will assist the companies to perform better and achieve bottom line is to reduce the management costs. It's very important for the takaful operators to seek and to look for takaful products as different products for different client base than the conventional ones, and try more efforts to convince those people and put more efforts to attract the normal market for takaful more than just going to compete with the conventional. And this is usually a very losing situation for takaful operators, because at the end of the day, conventional customers are only looking for the cost reduction, and whoever is providing the least cost will be the winner. And in the takaful basis, if they are already reducing their rates, this means that they are already hitting their bottom line. So we need to focus more on the nature and concepts of takaful. We need also to revise our management expenses levels, because what I noted from the practice that usually takaful operators have a higher expense ratio, management expenses ratio, compared to the non-takaful market. Many reasons are assisting for that, but I believe the industry should focus more on how to improve this. Part of that even is to adopt better distribution channels, which also will assist definitely to minimize our cost.
Assam?
Yeah, well, I think you are absolutely right here that although that the gross premiums within the takaful firms are really improving and growing, but the bottom line is either the same or even lower. I think that's really due to two main areas here, is the operational result, which is the underwriting result, and at the same time the investment income when it comes to the takaful. Well, on the operational result, I mean, I have to admit here that awareness plays a major part. If you look towards the conventional insurance companies, well, in fact, they have spent a lot on the awareness and keeping, let's say, their clients fully aware. But when it comes to the takaful, I think still the awareness is supposed to be more. And when you increase actually the awareness, definitely that will have an effect into your underwriting by, for example, minimizing your loss by having a proper risk management, taking a proper measurements when it comes to the risk precautions. So many of these issues actually will have definitely an effect into underwriting result. On the investment side, well, of course, as you know, I mean, takaful are very much restricted into investment. And what exactly we have seen, there are very limited actually funds that insurance, let's say, I mean, takaful companies can get in. There are a lot of restrictions. I mean, in GCC, as you know, I mean, there is a lot of fluctuations within the investment market, and what we have seen, sukuk and the bonds are the most, let's say, way of income for the investment part of the takafuls.
I don't think the problem is the growth. I think the problem or the issue is the profitable growth. So takaful companies have managed to grow, but many of them, not all of them, have failed to grow profitably. The growth was at the expense of pricing and risk selection, and it was mainly in lines of business which are hovering at a very high loss ratio. Again, with the absence of differentiation and innovation, you'll be writing more of the same and competing head-to-head with stronger, better rated, better positioned conventional peers is a recipe for disaster.
So what is the solution?
I think maybe from what exactly need to be taken into considerations, I think takaful companies need really actually to revisit actually their strategies, especially when it comes to sales. If brokers are sitting here, maybe they will get bad, but I think they need really to focus on a direct business to reduce the acquisition cost. This is number one. And at the same time, to reduce the cost when it comes to distribution line, they have to use the media systems or the new technologies at a low cost as well. This is the things that need really to be taken into consideration, as well as the awareness to their clients. This is what exactly I think.
I believe this in general is important, but for example, we need also to revisit our concepts again. For example, using brokers, if we can assist brokers to have cheaper ways to contact our clients and provide the takaful services, actually it may assist, if we succeed to really to help them, it may assist for better spread of the services, and it will have this human touch which we need and the human care of the clients. And we from experience, we know that brokers sometimes are much better in reflecting this to the clients than the companies. I'm talking even of the conventional in general. So we can, if we can assist the brokers to adopt new tools, to reach new markets, this also will assist takaful. I mean, at the end of the day, our problems are always there. It is not very far from what we face with conventional business, but we need to visit our concepts, our understanding, and try to invent and adopt the new approaches, which will definitely assist us at the end to reach better client base. When we expand our markets, this will assist us to gain more stability for our results. And also it will assist us if we reduce the cost of management or of marketing. This will assist also to reduce our overall cost and will assist to attract new customers.
So, okay, as a broker, I will take you up on this challenge, right? And will definitely try to contribute to the growth of the takaful market. But coming back to profitability, is it likely that one of the reasons for the poor profitability of the takaful industry is that there are too many companies? Is there a case for M&A in the takaful space? Fadel?
Coming back to the profitability, just an observation, we've seen that takaful companies, see, don't get me wrong, one of the most profitable companies in the region is in fact a takaful company, okay? So takaful does work, okay? However, just an observation, we have observed that takaful companies which are owned by bigger groups, takaful companies which are owned by banks, and they have access to the captive business are more profitable than the ones competing in the open market. Many countries are certainly overcrowded with a lot of companies, be it conventional companies or takaful companies. And now with tighter regulation across the region, be it in Saudi Arabia, UAE, Egypt, Bahrain, Jordan, and the increase in capital requirement, I think there is a need and there is a press for mergers and acquisition. Historically, what we have seen also is that very few acquisitions and mergers have actually taken place. We've seen one in Jordan, and it was a takaful company acquiring a conventional company. We have had one in Bahrain, again, a takaful company acquiring a conventional company. So it does work. And we've seen a lot of activity on the M&A side when it comes to banks. And I think insurance companies will have to eventually follow.
Thank you. Essam, any thoughts?
Well, again, I think this is something which is actually always encouraged by regulators really in Bahrain. The only way actually to enhance your profitability and also to have a proper, let's say, equity and accordingly you will have a better income is by way of acquisition. And we have seen, let's say for the last 5 years, we have seen two acquisitions actually in Bahrain, as Mr. Fadel said. I mean, takaful companies are acquiring, let's say, conventional companies, and accordingly, even, the experience went very well, very successful, and accordingly has really improved a lot the bottom lines.
Okay, that's a good point. Okay, let me change gears now. Look at the regional takaful space. What is being done to rebuild the local or regional takaful capacity? So we have two resident experts, right? Fadel and Omar. So Omar, maybe you can start with that.
Thank you very much. I believe many of the reinsurers, and I may talk about our experience, when the Africa Re Group decided to establish Africa Re Takaful to provide special capacity for the takaful markets, it was actually an important step to assist the markets and to respond to the market needs for capacity. And since 2011 to date, it proved that with better understanding of the market needs and being very close to our clients, we can provide better capacity. And actually building capacity is not just by a way of providing reinsurance cover, but also to assist the markets to understand more, to improve the risk management, to reflect the proper underwriting methods and approach, to do a lot of building the human capacity, which will definitely lead to better business and to enhance the reinsurance capacity as such. So I believe, and also a part of building capacity is to understand the concept and try to adopt the best way of doing it. I have to say that takaful is something which require not just to be treated as another way of making profits, but it's a different way of doing business, successful business, which sometimes shareholders or stakeholders should look for the business not just from the profit generating point, but also that it's providing a product to clients who are assisting at the end of the day to develop the insurance industry and will attract more clients to it.
I think one of the major challenges facing the takaful and the retakaful industry is the fact that they operate within the wider insurance and reinsurance industry. And in addition to the specific challenges facing takaful, they have also to deal with the general challenges facing the insurance and reinsurance industry. So if we look at the MENA region, I think it's difficult times for the reinsurance market. Many capacities have withdrawn from the MENA region, and the reason is profitability, increase in the numbers, frequency and severity of man-made, single man-made large losses, and we are seeing also increase in natural catastrophe losses, mainly floods and heavy rain-related losses. So the region, the MENA region, is no longer, in my view, perceived as a non-cat region. I think the nat-cat exposure is there, it's evident, and every year, we're talking about a 1 in 50 years event, which is truly not the case. So to be able to rebuild the retakaful capacity, we need to understand why many capacities have actually exited the market initially. They have exited the market because although the primary takaful market was recording a double-digit growth, most of the premium was basically leaked to the conventional market. So many retakaful companies have exited the market because of profitability, because they have lacked the mass for cycle management and diversification. Would it be able to work? I think us at Hanover Retakaful, if we look at our financials for the past 5 to 6 years, we have produced a double-digit return on equity of around 12% on average, and that's a comparable, that's even above the average of the top 10 conventional reinsurance companies. So Retakaful company, Retakaful as a model, it does work. It requires commitment from the takaful market, that's one. And secondly, it requires understanding from the shareholders, which is very important. Risk selection and strong financial rating to be able to have access to business you as a retakaful operator you would like to have access to.
So on that positive note, let's try to draw this panel to a close with the following question. So if you had a crystal ball, what would your outlook for the sector, and I'm not talking about the insurance industry in general, but specifically about the takaful segment, would it be for 2020? So Fadel, maybe starting from you and then going on.
Yeah. I think the MENA region has significant potential for growth and advancement. Insurance penetration levels are still low in many markets. If we take Saudi Arabia, for example, which is one of the largest markets in the region, it is around 1.7%, which is even below than the average insurance penetration in Africa, which is 2%. So the potential for growth is certainly there. And we're seeing that the markets will continue to grow. Yes, there is an overall slowdown in the economy. The region requires some level of acceptable political and socio-economical stability, to be able to attract foreign direct investments and to encourage governments to spend on infrastructure and come up with new initiatives. We're seeing also that there is a regulatory changes. The growth is mainly in health, but other lines of business also are becoming mandatory. Health represents a large chunk of the business, and most of the governments in the region are shifting the burden from the public sector to the private sector. So the overall outlook, I would say, is I would be cautiously optimistic. The potential is certainly there, but the framework has to be in place, and I would emphasize on stability first in the region.
Okay, good. Essam, do you echo these views?
Yeah, well, I mean, my expectations, let's say, I mean, for the outlook for 2020, say, well, if there is a proper contributions toward the projects from the government sector as well as the private sector, then we might actually have a good, actually, years ahead, as we really had it in the past, let's say, 8 years. But what we have seen, especially with the volatility of the oil price, where most of the GCC countries actually depends on, well, of course, there is a lot of changes and volatility on the oil price, and mainly it's up and down. So that's why I think the expectation, it's not really to that level. So I don't think really that there will be a lot of changes to the years before. There might be actually a very marginal, let's say, increase. And also the introductions of the VAT, which was introduced in Bahrain recently, and at the same time also in UAE and Saudi Arabia, I think definitely this will have really an effect into, especially when it comes to an individual line of insurances. But again, as I said, I mean, if there is a proper, let's say, contributions from the private sectors, i.e. banks, where if they can be lenient, let's say, when it comes to their conditions towards the requirements towards the consumers, this might really help the market. But as an overall, I think there will be a very marginal, let's say, increase from the years before.
Okay, so slight divergence in the views here, so slightly more optimistic and slightly less optimistic. So Omar, you are the final arbiter, right?
Yeah, I believe that actually when you look to the real market, you will note that Takaful is growing. I'm not talking about the growth with the existing players, but if you see that you attract new players every year, you also convince the regulators of the importance of the industry, and the regulators take all the efforts to organize and provide new regulations, especially for Takaful. We saw the most recent one is in Morocco. Egypt at the moment are drafting a law where the Takaful organization is an important part of the new insurance law. When you look to Africa, which usually is very low income economies and with moderate insurance income, you will find more establishment, more creation of Takaful operators, which means that there are a lot of shareholders, a lot of players who believe that Takaful is an important way of reaching some segments of the markets which was never part of the insurance industry before. If we look for that, and if we also remember the fact that insurance is one of those products or services which we have to sell, and it is not usually bought. We have to do a lot of efforts to attract our clients, to educate them, to convince them of the importance of our products, especially in our emerging markets where the insurance awareness is very low. If we always remember this fact, this will assist us to expand the takaful industry. I can't say very optimistic or optimistic, but from what I see, from what I am expecting, takaful industry can easily earn more ground every day, but we need to believe in the concept as players. Also, we need to do more efforts to reach our markets and to convince our markets of insurance. It is never be enough that someone is in need for insurance that he will go to buy insurance, but we should do an effort, and for takaful, we should even do extra effort, because we are not only to convince them of the importance of insurance, but also we need to convince them that what we are providing is a Sharia compliant, which is the main differences between selling the conventional insurance and the takaful products.
Excellent. Gentlemen, thank you for your insights. We managed to wrap up at precisely 1:45 as requested by the organizers. Dear audience, thank you for listening patiently to this distinguished panel, and I wish you a very nice day ahead.
Mr. Christos Adamantiadis, thank you very much for your very professional moderation. I would like to thank Mr. Isam Al-Ansari, Mr. Omar Gouda, Mr. Fadel Al-Subeya. Thank you very much. And now it's my honor to invite Mr. Youssef Fassi-Fihri, CEO of CER, our host, and President of FAIR, to extend some symbolic gifts to our speakers, s'il vous plaît, Monsieur. And of course, I'd like also to invite Dr. Yasser Baharna, and he was recognized yesterday, as you all know, for his outstanding contribution to the industry, and very honored to have you both here. Thank you, please. So this session concludes our plenary sessions. Thank you very much for being here, all of you, and I wish you very fruitful bilateral meetings this afternoon, a pleasant stay in Morocco, and a very safe trip back home. And hope to see you again in Morocco soon. And we're all invited for lunch around the swimming pool at the PGP. Thank you very much.
الناس دايما يشوفوا التكافل كاندستري. صحيح صحيح. ودلوقتي ما فيش هو الاتحاد ده اللي احنا بنحارب عشان الحمد لله السودان دلوقتي يعني they are overcoming their troubles وان شاء الله يكون الافضل. ان شاء الله. شكرا يعطيك العافيه. شكرا. واحنا من صوتنا مثل ما قلت لك استاذ عمر. 100% ان شاء الله. ان شاء الله. والتخمس.